All right. So AstLinux. What is it? Let's see, next slide. What is it? It is a prepackaged Asterisk solution that has a web interface for some of the common tasks, complete shell access, so you can get to everything that you would want to ever touch. You can configure everything from the command line. You can configure most of the things from the web interface. There are no dial plan limitations. You're able to construct what you want from the dial plan with all of the complexities, nothing locked out. A little bit different than what Michael had with a SCSIA, but it's a different target. Appliance type design with low power consumption. Most of the target hardware are fanless, low power. Put them in a closet, don't think about them. Not have to worry about moving parts. It's designed to work on flash media, minimizing the amount of writes so that you're not wearing out the flash media. A little bit of a history. It was started by Christian Kielhofner in 2004. He originally based it on Gen 2, basically taking a full Gen 2 distribution and removing things until he got it down to where he wanted it. Originally it was around 250 megabytes. Put it on a flash drive and ran it on some, I believe it was the PC Engine's RAP board was the first instance. About a year or so later, he moved over to a build root. Basically took build root, heavily modified it to get a bunch of other things working on the, is that in room? Okay. Heavily modified that to get a lot of the Asterisk stuff working better. It's a smaller footprint. I believe at that time it was around 40 megabytes, but didn't have a lot of the features. It was basically just a Linux distribution that ran Asterisk. Back in a couple, trying to think, 06, something like that, we added a couple more developers. Christian was doing everything through the 04 release. He was doing pretty much everything himself. We added a couple more developers, modified the web interface considerably in 05 and on up from there. Currently, we support Asterisk 1.4, 1.6.2, the stable release in that one, and we've added support for 1.8.0 in our current build environment. We also have limited support for OpenSIPs, FreeSwitch, and Yate. Not actively developed, but they are there and could be used as an alternative to Asterisk in the same type of environment if you wanted to do that. Networking support, we have full IP tables firewall, traffic shaping, VLANs, a fail to ban type of a mechanism in there, and VPN capabilities, both OpenVPN, a client and a server option, and IPsec through the Raccoon implementation. We also have, for a small business type feature, a lot of these features were added in as needs of some of my clients and some of our other community requests. We added a pass-through printer support, so you can plug in a USB printer and have the device act as basically a JetDirect box on the network. There's a speed dial directory type feature that is available from the web interface, and that same directory will show up if you program the Polycom or Astra phones to use the web XML features. You can display all those speed dials right on the phone, so you can have like a corporate-wide speed dial directory without having to go through and modify each phone. You can pull it up and dial right from the phone. Follow Me, Find Me is available from the web interface, as well as blacklist, voicemail, monitoring files, and we have some limited support for the Asterisk GUI 2.0, but it's not well tested and not widely deployed, but it is in there. How this is a good fit for small business is it's pretty easy to maintain and upgrade. The actual installation is an image-based installation. So once you flash the compact flash card, you can do all of your upgrades right from the live image without having to pull the card out, reboot, not upgrading individual packages. You're upgrading the actual whole image of the operating system. There's admin, staff, and user level access to the web interface for common things. So like follow me, find me, if a user needs to change the number that they're following out to, or even turn the feature off, they can go in with their voicemail user extension and password, log in, change their features, log back out, and it's taking care of what it's supposed to do. It's low system requirements, so like I said, you can put it in a closet and forget about it, which is important for small businesses. I'm going to show a little bit of a case study. This is one of my existing customers that has 2 offices and multiple sales offices where you have one person working out of their home. So you really don't have, you have a lot of, they need to have reliable communication and connectivity back and forth between the offices, not only for the phone features, but they need to have a secure connection for their Windows server connections. So in the main office, we have it's a Asterisk Net 5501 it's a small compact system, has a 512 meg of RAM, uses an AMD Geode processor. Paired that with an 8-port analog card, and it works well, with Windows Small Business Server, and they have a DSL internet connection there. So the DSL internet connection, this happens to be at a rural telco. They're able to get 3 megs down and 1 meg out, so it's really not a lot of bandwidth, especially when you're talking with 2 locations, several remote salespeople. You have to have robust traffic shaping in place. The remote office, we have another Net 5501, and there's a Windows server over in that location as well. So you have that communication going back and forth and the voice communication going back and forth. Connected those together with an IPsec VPN. Home users, and this is where, if you've ever tried to do remote printing over a VPN, if you're trying to do it with Windows sharing, it doesn't work very well, if at all. This is where that P910ND daemon works very well. You can have the user plug in the USB printer into the back of this, set it up, and it just works as a network daemon. You just print right across to that. So some of the key considerations in this environment, this had to play well with the Windows Server. So we had to, if you're at all familiar with the Windows Small Business Server, it pretty much has to be the DHCP server for the network. So we had to be able to turn off that functionality, or have it handle everything at least for the Windows part of the network. So typically what we do is have a VLAN for the phones, have its own little network for that, have a separate network for the Windows PC part of it, and have that all handled by the AstLinux device. The home offices were typically dynamic IP address, so OpenVPN handles that very nicely. You can connect back to the home office, and IP address changes, it just refreshes the connection and you're still connected. And we also needed to maintain at those home offices, we needed to have, basically we'll plop in a device like that, it connects to the main, to like their DSL router or their cable modem, and it acts as the gateway controlling the traffic and handing out a home address versus business address. So anything that's connected to one of the Ethernet connections on this device is going to be business related. Anything else is personal, and it's separated that way as well. So for that purpose, it works very well. We're currently with our development. Our next scheduled release is 0.74. We are going to do a dual release on this, where we're going to have one image that's based with Asterisk 1.4 stable, another one that's going to be Asterisk 1.80. Not that, I don't know, single-digit releases just are pretty scary. So it's just a good way for people to be able to continue with the stable release, and then also have the option, if they want to test the next stable release, they can do that. With our upgrade system, it's very easy to upgrade from one, and then if you need to revert back, it's just a matter of changing a file, or actually issuing a shell command, or checking a different box in the web interface and clicking revert, and it'll revert back to the other image. Configuration files are stored in a way that you can easily back those up and restore them. They're using, instead of having them all throughout the entire file system, they're maintained in a separate directory. So you can easily back that up, switch between releases, restore those files, and have everything working again. We've added initial IPv6 support, which will be available on our next release. This is both mixed IPv6, IPv4, the firewall, and other services such as DHCP all will handle that. This should be available sometime late November, depending on our initial testing. Future development. This AstLinux, which I saw in earlier slides, is based on build root currently. That means it has UC-libc as the core library. There are certain things that are produced by Digium that are only available as a binary blob. You have the Skype for Asterisk, the Fax for Asterisk, and the G729 codec will only work with libraries. You need the glibc compatibility. So in order to get some of that extra functionality, we're planning to move to a different build environment in the next major release. It's under progress right now. It's still being